Hi! Within this section, we're going to take a quick break for trying to hack into computers or trying to capture the information from victim computers and have a look at hackers' methodology. And I know you want to practice that what you're learning and you don't want some theoretical information. But it's not harmful to learn about this hacker methodology because if you're going after some hacker certifications or if you're looking for a career in cybersecurity or ethical hacking, then you will need this information. So I'm going to have a quick section here introducing something called hackers methodology. So this is a summary of steps hackers follow when they try to gain access on some victim device. So now if you're ready, let's get started.
Hi! Within this section, we're going to focus on steps that hackers actually follow when they try to do some penetration testing. We previously discussed hackers actually try to find vulnerabilities and exploit these vulnerabilities in order to gain unauthorized access. And of course, there is a framework, there are some steps these hackers actually follow to reach that goal. And if you search for hacker methodology online, you will see something similar to these steps. And I will explain one by one in this section what are those steps and how we can use them in our tests. If you're an ethical hacker, before you start any of the steps, you will have to do a contract. You will have to get some permission to do some penetration testing regarding to a web server, regarding to a wireless network, regarding to a computer. Okay? And if you're working for a penetration testing company, it is easy to do that because company officials will have to do some contracts, will have to align on some penetration testing with the client. And if you're a freelancer hacker, then you can find some bug bounty opportunities online and you can try to penetrate into those systems, and this will be legal as well. And after doing that, you will have the permission to do some penetration testing. And the first step of that is the reconnaissance. I'm going to explain all these steps in detail in the following lecture, but right now let me take you over these steps very briefly. So in the reconnaissance part, you do some passive information gathering. You have the general information in the step, and after that, you try to dig deeper and try to scan a little more. So you do intense scanning, you do ARP scanning, you ping intensely in the step, and target will know or may know that you're trying to gather some information from their system. And after that, you will have to identify some vulnerabilities. If you find a vulnerability, then you can try to leverage that weakness. You can try to exploit that vulnerability to gain access. And after that, of course, you have to maintain your access. You have to run some persistence process in order to have a sustainable connection, a sustainable session. And finally, you will have to report everything that you have done so far to the client or to the website that you're trying to get some bug bounty, and then they can fix this problem in order to avoid any attack from bad hackers, black hat hackers. So this is how ethical hackers follow their step in order to reach their goals. Now we can stop at this point, and within the next lecture we're going to see the steps one by one in detail. Hi! Within this lecture we're going to cover the details of these steps that we have seen in the previous lecture. So let's go into reconnaissance. In reconnaissance, you try to gather information passively. So at this point, you don't alert the system administrator. You use some methods and you go under the radar, and you can use open source research. For example, following the next section, we're going to focus on website penetration testings. And suppose that you're targeting a website, and if you try to find what kind of technologies that this website is using or who registered that website, then you can do some passive information gathering. The administrator of that website wouldn't even know that you're gathering that data. And you can, of course, integrate these results into your attack strategy. And in the next step, you're going to do active scanning. For example, you can use Nmap to find out about the open ports of that particular website. So you have seen how to use Nmap, right? And there is another tool called Nessus, and you can use that Nessus with Nmap as well. Nessus is a professional tool, and you have to pay a good amount of money in order to use that tool in full feature. But Nmap is a free tool, and you can get the open ports and the version names and other vulnerabilities and other brief descriptions in Nmap as well. So this is clearly above the radar, and if you're going to use something like IntentScan, then there is a high chance that administrator will know something is going on in this case. Next, you have to find some vulnerabilities with using that scan results. So you can analyze the scan results and you can search for possible vulnerabilities, and you can use Rapid7 or exploitdb.com in order to do that. So you have to pay attention to details, operating system versions, fixes, patches, and everything. And this is no different than what we have done in the system penetration testing section. So remember, we have used Nmap, then we search online for some specific versions, and we have used Rapid7 database in order to understand how we can leverage that weaknesses. And in the next step, we're going to gain access. So before, we have used those vulnerabilities and we have used exploits related to those vulnerabilities in order to gain access. So you can use tools like Metasploit in this case in order to open a session and interact with this hacked computer, target computer, or target website, or some other device, and you can try to gather information regarding to folders, files, sensitive information, and you can try to browse into those files, upload some files, download some files, and so on. And after that, you have to maintain your access. So this is what we did in the post connection, post hacking section. Remember, we have used Meterpreter in order to sustain the session, and we have used migration to hide, to bury our current process into other running processes. So this is what you do only after you gain access to the target system. And of course, all these steps will lead to the reporting. So especially if you're working for a company that does penetration testing, you will have to report everything that you do in your penetration tests for your client, for the official security officers of that client. And in order to do that, you have to prepare a summary and a detailed explanation, and you have to present your report. Before you do that, you might want to delete the logs, but it isn't necessary in every case. Maybe it is in your contract, so you know what to do, And if you want to delete the logs, you can use MeterPeter sessions and other tools as well. After you complete all the steps, now you manage to complete a whole penetration testing. So this is the framework. These are the steps that hackers actually follow during these penetration testings. And I know this is purely theoretical, but if you're going to go into a cybersecurity career, or if you're going after a certification like Certified Ethical Hacker, then you will need to know all about these steps. So I'm going to stop here, and following the next section, we're going to focus on website penetration testing.
Hi, now you know what kind of steps do hackers follow when they try to gain access on a victim device. So this information can be useful if you are looking forward to get an ethical hacking certification. And within a later section, we are in fact going to discuss the various options that you may apply for ethical hacking certifications, like OSCP or CEH. But for right now, we're going to move on to the next section and we're going to see something about website reconnaissance.